Hey guys, I just wanted to run a quick theory that was really bothering me in Tears of the Kingdom. In terms of the Gerudo lore, so they obviously go more in depth in Tears and Breath of the Wild in general, where it's discussing, how do I say, Vo, Vi, how Gerudo women actually get mates, and there's a whole side quest where Ronson, I believe her name is, goes out and marries Hudson and Terrytown, and they have a child together. And the daughter is the whole side quest are also not wanting to leave and not wanting to say goodbye to her father for the rest of her life, and seeing only her mother on occasional visits, and kind of being like, this is a system that doesn't really make sense, in the sense that eventually someone would be like, well, we'll just let the men into Gerudo Town, or we'll let the Gerudo women live with them. But then it became a different thing, in the sense that each one of the sages is treated as like a different race of people, because the Gerudo are like differentiated from the Hylians. It got me thinking, well, if you have this population of women that has to interbreed outside their natural habitat, eventually what's going to happen is that those people would no longer exist. They wouldn't be Gerudo, they would be all Hylian. And sure enough, Hudson's daughter has his haircut. So it's kind of like, well, if this is the Gerudo operate, so the original lore is that the Gerudo are a all-woman warrior tribe with a man born every 100 years. So, and again, these are video games, right? No one really ever questioned it. But in this game, they're questioning it, like, oh, well, then the Gerudo would just live outside their domain with, their new family. And I was thinking, well, that doesn't make any sense, because, like, there's a lot of Gerudo, and, if that was the case, you'd expect Gerudo to just be everywhere, because, it's their only form of getting a mate. And if they don't stay in Gerudo Town, or they can't bring their family with them, then they would stay all outside, like Ronson's case. In which case, there would be no mystique to Gerudo Town. There'd be no one wondering, what is it like, how do we get in? And there would be Gerudo literally everywhere, because there'd be nowhere else for them to go, right? So I find the way that Zelda, or at least the way that Tears deals with it, is very unusual. And so I was talking, I came up with actually some solutions to the lore. So, number one, in order to keep the Gerudo a differentiated race from the rest of the Hylians, it would their breeding is already working on a pseudo-magical level. Like, why is a man born every 100 years? That doesn't make any sense. And he obviously can't impregnate, incestuously all the other women, and then they're also pregnant. But then that's only like for 100 years, and then that's what all the children they're going to have for 100 years. But how do you get the man after 100 years, for the next 100 years? So that doesn't even make sense. So the first thing you would do is that when Gerudo women reproduce, it's like, because they only produce women, that woman that is produced has to be almost genetically differentiated from the male donor. So the female egg in this scenario, the female Gerudo genetics would have to be not only superior, but in a way supernatural, in that the daughter that is birthed is almost an exact clone of the mother Gerudo. And it's only the father, the sons that are born that have differentiation. Now, so that's the genetic aspect. Now, the social aspect is going to be something around the fact that, well, Gerudo are hyper-isolationists. how do they maintain their society if it's mostly going to be women and then eventually a man every 100 years? So I basically kind of imagined it like this, at least in Ocarina's standpoint. The women would basically leave the fortress, go out into the world, basically abduct or, literally rape a man, get pregnant, and then head back to the Gerudo fortress without, bringing their husband with them and raising their children and their daughters in the Gerudo Desert away from the rest of civilization. Because the concept of the Gerudo women just being about, with their husband and living with their husband's family on their side, then there'd be Gerudo everywhere, and it wouldn't make any sense why they would see themselves as so isolationist and distinct and whatnot. So the women would have to go out, do their business, and then almost sneak back and have their little secret society. So these are kind of the two things that I imagined would happen if the Gerudo narrative seeks to continue. Because the way it's looking in Tears of the Kingdom is that there's Gerudo women literally roaming the countryside looking for a mate, and once they find one, they stay with them. In which case, you give this like one generation, and suddenly Gerudo are literally everywhere. Like it doesn't make any sense. Why would they even have to live in the desert then? In that case, so again, it only makes sense if Gerudo are their genetics alongside of being a female superior would have to also be would have to be almost clone levels of superiority, and that there's no technical, inbreeding, because the it's almost like a clone self. And two, from the social aspect, they would have to be, hyper isolationist and not, delve in with the rest of society. But yeah, I think those are pretty much my main thoughts on the matter. I think that makes sense. Let me guys know what you think. And I love Tears of the Kingdom and pretty much all the Zelda games. And yeah, that's it. Bye.